Good evening. Good evening. We hope everybody had a great day today and nobody's in harm's way with the weather issues around the country. But we're going to take you through a series of slides, a few slides, and some good information. My name is Stephen LeBroy. I'm with the LeBroy Insurance Group. We just published a book called Build Your Human Equity Line of Credit, which goes right along lines with what we're going to be discussing tonight, Rich Dentist, Poor Dentist, and the way in which we can build wealth in an uncommon way. Again, I'm Stephen LeBroy, LeBroy Insurance Group. I want to introduce you to Rich Clouse, the author of Rich Dentist, Poor Dentist. Most people have his book, and hopefully you have read it, and we're going to go over concepts tonight that we believe are strong and we know that works, and they will help you in your practice, whether it be to make money more efficient or to help you manage and get rid of debt. So we're going to, without further ado, introduce Rich Clouse.
Hey, Steve, thanks. It's always good chatting with you. Hey, thanks everybody for being on this evening. I'm going to start kind of with the question right at the top there. Are you ready to learn strategies in this book that can help you? If you're borrowing any money from others, are you building any wealth? You know as well as we do, you're building wealth for the institutions and you're losing money for your future. We want to help you turn that around. One of the things we're going to look at tonight basically is the 4 ways that you can handle both current and future debts. One of the questions we run into a lot is that people who've been in practice a while, they are doing well, they're handling their debt, and they don't think they're really in debt. And they don't think in terms of what it's going to be like 5, 10, 15 years out. But if you ask any dentist that's 45 to 55, if they thought they would have been spending as much for a cone beam machine or any other type of equipment as they are today, they would have said, heck no, I never would have given a thought it could have gotten that high. So it's important to have a plan. So we're going to show you examples of how basically debt can create wealth for you. It's probably the first time you've ever heard of that. Most people think debt's going to rob their wealth. I want to also highlight down here at the bottom our relatively new website, dentaldebtrelief.com, is based on all the concepts in Rich Dentist, Poor Dentist. We have blogs, we have podcasts that Steve and I are doing. We've got videos out there, and just a lot of information, and it's a great source if you want to kind of enhance what you're learning tonight and what the book has said. So let's kind of get started. This is just our disclosure. I am licensed in the securities business. We're not talking about that, but I'm required by law to let you know that. So who can capitalization or CAP plans help? Our CAP plan is just a short version of just saying a capitalization. And basically, to capitalize, as you've read in the book, basically is to accumulate money to be able to use. It can help students. It can help recent grads with loans. It can help dentists that are in practice that either have or will have equipment or, as they purchase practices, have practice loans that they have to work on. It's going to help you coordinate both your personal and practice financial life from a cash flow perspective. Many of our dentists are doing very well in one or the other, but they're kind of struggling in the other one. And our belief is macroeconomically they need to go together kind of hand in hand to maximize wealth in both personal and practices. So the CAP planning can be in benefit for really almost any type of loan you can think. So you may have credit cards you want to pay off. You may have car loans, student loans, practice purchase loans, or even real estate loans. Real estate loans are the last things we structure to pay off because typically they're some of the largest. Now, we did talk to a young dentist who's in practice the other day, and he mentioned real estate, and I said, that's the last thing. It's probably the largest. He goes, well, no, not really. We've got that paid down pretty well. So it's not always the largest, but in most cases it's the largest. So the key to having a good debt management plan is this word right here, discipline. If you don't have discipline, then you really don't have a plan. You just kind of have hope out there that it's all going to work out. That's not what you want to do when you're spending as much money as all of our dentists are spending in their practices for equipment, practice loans, et cetera. A written plan is important. That's what we help you have. and a plan that you can stick to. So tonight, we're going to review strategies and concepts of the debt management methods. And everybody listening and watching has different financial situations. It's one of the things Steve and I like about what we do. It's different every day. Everybody else's is different than someone else's that maybe we worked on earlier that day. So we customize a unique plan for each one of our dentists. So we're going to review several planning options tonight. We're going to give you some ideas to consider. If you have questions after tonight, we're setting up personal, no-cost WebEx meetings to discuss your personal situation. At the end, there's contact information where you can reach out to me, and we'll go ahead and get back to you. And, we'll do, say, a kind of a 30-minute introductory that's more specific than what you're doing, and then go from there, if it makes sense, to go to the next step and see if we can put together information and numbers for you. Okay, so what are we really trying to do tonight? The primary planning concepts for capitalization and debt management. Number one, some of you may have heard of this, but we believe in a club versus a swing strategy. An example I always give is that if you had an opportunity to go play in a Masters golf tournament and you had two choices, you could take anybody that has ever played the game of golf and take their golf clubs and your swing and go play, or you could take your golf clubs and pick anybody that's ever played the game's swing to go play in the Masters. Which would you do? Well, everybody knows that I could use Jack Nicklaus's or Tiger Woods or Phil Mickelson's swing with my golf clubs and play a whole heck of a lot better. That's the primary difference between traditional planning and the strategies and concepts that we put together. In traditional planning, just like in golf, a lot of people say, give me the big driver, give me the club. Traditional planner brings the club to you. What we do is help put the strategies and the concepts together. Once those are together, then we go in and pick out the club that makes the most sense to make those strategies and planning and the process work for you. So it's different. There's no one best financial product in the world out there. If there were, everybody would own it, and everybody would be successful financially. And we all know that's just not the case. We want you to become your bank instead of paying the institutions to use their money. We're not telling you anything you don't know. If you're borrowing money from institutions and paying them principal and interest, they're the ones making the wealth. And they're never going to give you back any of that principal or any of that interest. We want you to have strategies where you can become the bank so you're paying those funds back to yourself and being able to reuse it again. So our goal is to reduce current debts and help you be debt-free in 10 years or less. Now, can we help everybody do that? Probably not everybody, but an awful lot of people we can. And there may be some debts that we don't want to get paid off in 10 years because there's better utilization of the money. But we'll go over that in each individual situation. We want you to be positioned for future major purchases. So you've got a plan. If we're looking again at a cone bean machine or something of that nature, and you're going to spend $100,000 to $150,000, hey, we don't want a surprise. We want to have that in the plan to know what's kind of going to happen and work for you. Number 5, we're repaying yourself at least the same monthly payment as you were paying the banks, credit cards, college loans, etc. What we always ask our clients is, who do you like better? Do you like the banks better, and would you rather pay them the money, or do you like you better to be able to pay the money and put it back in your account? No question about that. The other piece you'll hear us talk about a lot, both Steve and I, is the concept of called honest banker. The same monthly payments you were paying to the institutions, that's the least amount of money you should pay yourself back for the reason I mentioned before. You would rather pay more money to yourself than to anybody else, especially institutions that you're never going to get it back. So honest banker makes all the sense in the world. You're going to have debt payments by doing this back in your accounts. So you're going to use the same money over and over and over. It could be a small purchase. It could be a small x-ray. It could be new chairs. It could be an operatory. but all those dollars are going to be paid back to you, and then you're going to eventually have those dollars to be able to use as a retirement income supplement that is tax-free. Tax-free is really important, and we talk a lot more about that in the individual, meetings. And again, tonight, we're going to be done right at 7 o'clock Eastern time, that 30 minutes. So we'll keep right to it, and we'll have time for questions at the end. So remember, go to the chat box. If you have any questions, put the chats in. It'll go to Steve, and then Steve's going to ask me those questions at the end. So we'll definitely save some time for that. So there's 4 ways to handle the future loans. We already talked about the first one. Borrow money from the financial institutions. They set your payments, and they determine the interest. Pretty easy to figure out who's in control. They're the ones in control. Now, we have to use banks. We have great relationships with a lot of our dental or our banking execs that work with our dental clients. It's important to have those because we're going to need to use them at times. The question is just how long do we need to use them? How quickly can we pay that off and have that money flowing back to you? But early on, they are in control. When people grow and become more successful, they think the best way to do this, to acquire all the equipment, practices, et cetera, is to pay cash. Now, I always ask, is there anyone out there that's been able to do that? Well, occasionally we get somebody, but most of the time it's not, or they can't. And even if you can, you have lost all the earning power on the money you just spent. So as an example, if you just sent $10,000 for equipment, you lost your $10,000 because the bank has it or the equipment has it, and you've lost all the growth on that $10,000. The technical term, accounting term, is called lost opportunity cost. So you lost your opportunity to have money grow. We analyze that and help you see the strategy of using that and what kind of wealth do you not have because you used that strategy. Number 3 is to capitalize. When you capitalize, all we're talking about is you're saving money. You're saving money and you're accumulating it to be able to be your own bank. In this example, you're paying yourself back instead of the bank. So if you're paying the bank $1,500 for something, in our example of capitalizing in number 3 here, you'd be paying the same $1,500 back to yourself. The other term we use a lot basically is cash flow neutral. If you were paying the bank $1,500 or you were paying yourself $1,500, it's the same out of pocket. So once we help you capitalize, the rest of the time, it's cash flow neutral. So the capitalization process is the critical piece to get the dollars there, which we help you find them. Steve and I are pretty good at doing that. And that way that you've got the dollars and then all the cash flow neutral are going back to you. We already talked about it. Who do you like better? You or the bank? Now, the other part with saving money today is you can't grow money very fast in today's interest rates. And every dentist that we talk with, if we ask the question, if you're accumulating money for a purchase that you're going to have, say 6 months, 8 months, a year out, where do you accumulate the money? And to a person, they always say, I would have it in my practice checking account, my practice savings account. They're not taking any risk with it because they can't afford to take any risk with it because the money has to be there. They can't go buy mutual funds. They can't go buy stock. They can't go buy real estate with it because they know that money needs to be there. So in today's world, you'd be hard-pressed to get 2% rate of return in some of those. But it's still a better process than paying interest to the bank or paying cash because you're still going to be ahead of the game if you do that. The other side, if you accumulate the money in those accounts, CDs, money market account, bonds, you're going to have to pay income taxes as your money grows. The longer you're in the planning game, the more important the income taxes are. And that's one of the reasons, number 4, when you capitalize, but we're using a specially designed life policy with cash values to become the bank, if you look at it, it's the same thing. You're paying yourself back, but you're building up a tax-free source of money. The question we always ask is, how long are you going to be in the tax-paying business? most of the clients we work with are going to be in it a long time. If it's a really short period of time and the dentist wants us to help them get out of debt so when they sell their practice they get to keep all the money, we'd have to look at that time frame and see whether number 3 or number 4 makes more sense for them, which we analyze for them to help you decide which one. So as we talked a little bit before, if I ask any of our dentists how they want their income taxed when they retire, do they want it to be taxable at the highest ordinary income tax rates the government wants to put in, or do they want it to be tax-free? We've never had anybody say, oh, give me all that taxable income. I want to pay more in tax. Everybody says, I want it to be income tax-free. But when we analyze, very few people have set up any type of planning for those dollars to come in on an income tax-free plan later, even though that's what they want. And the reason they haven't is no one's talking to them about it. We're bringing that piece to the package here that accomplishes both, more efficiency on the debt plus the tax-free nature down the line. Number 5 says, how many would want the most efficient plan that also provides flexibility and creates most wealth? I think all of you would say yes. You know, there's probably 25, 30 people on here tonight, and I think everybody would say aloud, yes, I'd like the most, efficient plan. The other thing we found in working with dentists through the years is what's key is to have options, choices, flexibility. Traditional planning, putting money in retirement plans that the government controls, how much you can get out, what are the taxes and everything else, or sticking money in real estate where the banks control. The way you can get money out of a real estate investment is either to sell it or go qualify again and borrow money. And there's nothing against either one of those because we're big believers in using both of them. But we want to make sure we've got flexibility with options and choices for all the things that are going to happen in between times through the practice and the practice purchases, et cetera. Real quickly, a lot of people don't have any idea if they want to explore wealth potential versus expenditures. How do you want to do it? So very quick example. If, we had a 30-year-old going to age 65, was making $150,000 a year. They were going to have their income grow at 3%. They had $50,000 in savings, and they were going to make a 5% rate of return. Over those 35 years, their wealth would have grown to over $21 million. Now, this isn't possible to happen in the real world unless maybe someone on the line here tonight has this, where they have a parent or a grandparent that says the worst thing you can do is borrow money from somebody else. So instead of doing that, what we're going to do is we're going to give you enough money to take care of all those debts, and you can pay cash, and you can save all the money you would have had to pay out. Well, then you might have had $21 million, but haven't had anybody come forth yet to say, hey, I've got relatives that are willing to do that for me. So let's look and see kind of what else happens to those dollars to where we can't get that $21 million. The only difference we've added here is to say we're going to have to pay some taxes. We all know that, but it could be income taxes, maybe state, city, and federal. It could be real estate taxes. It could be cell phone taxes. It could be any kind of taxes you can think, taxes to go to football games, baseball games. Pick whatever number you want. I just happen to use 35%. So the key here is everything down here stayed the same. But look, your wealth dropped from $21 million to $14 million. Now, don't laugh at this, but you only paid $3.1 million in income taxes. The question we always ask, some people know it and some people don't, is how come I only paid $3 million, but I lost almost $7.5 million of wealth? Well, I touched on it a little bit before, but if you pay $1 in tax today, you lose that, but you also lose all the growth on that tax. That's why you paid $3, but you lost $7.5 million. The term I mentioned before, the lost opportunity cost, is a true accounting concept that most people don't even know exists. Most traditional planners never monitor it. never look at it, never take it into consideration in the plans. And it's extremely important. It's kind of like a stealth tax. You don't really realize it's there, but it can take a big, big bite out of what your future wealth would be. So what we're trying to talk about here is, are we better off handling expenditures and efficiency than we are just trying to get more wealth, get a better rate of return, pay more taxes, have more lost opportunity cost? We analyze this in each situation with our dentists as we're putting the plan together to help them understand and see that you can make more money by managing and reducing expenses than chasing higher rates of return. Now, that's counter to almost everybody's talk, because everybody else would be going, hey, let's get 8% down here instead of 5%, and we're going to be a heck of a lot better off. You're not. You can make more money by managing all these potential expenses that are up there and reduce those as much as we possibly can. So it's an interesting exercise to go through, and when you see your numbers, your real numbers in it, it makes all the difference in the world. Here's what we put together for all of our dentists to look at. We call it the debt reduction page. And this is just a projection. So down here basically are all the practice loans that a dentist could have. This is just a real example of one of our dentists. This column shows the principal. This column shows the interest rate. The current estimated payoff date, if they continue on the path they're on, shows in that column there. What we help everybody put together is, Steve and I call it a luck payment. And the L stands for liquidity, the U stands for you being able to use it, and the C stands for control, meaning that it's not tied up in a retirement plan, as I mentioned earlier, where the IRS and the government controls how you can use it and when you can use it and what taxes you're going to pay. It's not tied up in a real estate equity where the banks control it, of how you can get it out and how you can use it. So we want to have it so you've got the ability to decide when you want to use it, how quickly you want to use it, how much of it you want to use. So in this example, we were able to help that dentist find $2,449 on a monthly basis. So with setting up their luck payment into their capitalization cash value account, what that meant on this first loan, instead of paying it off in August of 26, we'd be paying it off a little over a year from now. Now, remember we talked about kind of snowballing and paying yourself back. We pay it off, you save $240.86. See what happens to your luck payment? It grows by $240.86. The same time frame, we were able to pay off the Mohila loan. That 10402 is snowballed back in to increase that. The practice loan is paid off basically 6-8 months earlier. That saves the $4,647. That goes up. The personal car paid off about a year early, saves the $502. And last, the combination loans that started at $142,000 is paid off in October of 22 compared to April of 41. It's a long time from now. It's even hard to say, April of the year of 41. So at the end of the day, you now are paying yourself back $8,735. So what's that mean? The current plan would have taken 22.6 years to pay off. Using a cap planning strategy, you'd be debt-free in a little over 4 years. Both started out with the same $332,000. In the current plan, you'd have $413,000 that you paid to creditors. In the cap plan, you'd had $360,000. You'd have paid $81,000 in interest to creditors versus $28,000. How's that sound? I think saving $50,000 or more in interest is a pretty darn good deal. So at the end of the fourth year, you would have paid off all of these notes. You would still have $57,000 left in your cap plan cash values. So what we talk about is there's two things that can happen at that point in time. And one of the questions Steve and I get every time is, well, what if I don't want to continue to pay the $8,700 a month back? What if I want to cut my cost? We can call the game off. You're completely out of debt. We jokingly sometimes say, if you don't want to be a dentist anymore, all loans are paid off, you can go do whatever you want to do, plus we'll send you a check for this $57,000 that's in there. Now, most of our dentists go, hey, if that worked that well over that period of time, I think what I want to do is I want to continue to do it because I want to build my practice, and I need new equipment, and I need new space, and I want to buy another practice. Well, 1 year later, the account is worth over $100,000 more that we can continue to use to build more wealth and build a better way in a practice and in your personal life. So we do this individually for everybody so they see exactly how their situation would work as we can structure the plans. One kind of sidelight on that. A lot of people go, well, where in the world did you get the luck payment? Well, we have two different ways typically what we find from clients. One, a client in a practice has money, they have cash laying, and they have cash flow. So it's easy to do that. And the other one, we have people go, I love it, I don't have any money. Well, that's where Steve and my expertise is going out and looking at your overall situation and helping you find money to fund that luck payment. I'm going to have to go this kind of quick. I've been a little too wordy tonight. I apologize. So the question is, if we borrow money from our cash value account, we have to pay the insurance company interest to use their money. So here's an example. If we put $50,000 in for 6 years, that means we put $300,000 in each one of these accounts. If we never used the money, no loans, you'd have $685,000, which is about a 4-point-something% triple tax-free in many states rate of return, which isn't bad. But we don't believe in doing that. We believe in using it. So in this example, if we'd used it 5 times for $100,000 loans, we paid back at 6%, that's $19.93 a month. So you would have sent back to your policy $579, of which $500,000 was your principal you used. So you sent the insurance company an extra $79,000. Well, what happened? Your cash values grew from $685 to $700, almost $750,000. So you gained more, $61,000 more by doing that, which is 77% of the interest you paid to the insurance company to use their money you recovered. But more important than that, you recovered 100% of your principal. Even if this was zero in the interest, to get all your principal back would be great because that's not happening in anything else you're doing. The rest of this slide just says, what if you could pay it back at 8%? What if you could pay it back at 12%? What if you could pay it back at 16%? 16%, by the way, is we see some people that are leasing pieces of equipment, and that interest rate is higher. So let's say you could do that. $995,000 versus $685,000. You have $309,000 more available in that plan, and you've recovered 135% of your interest. We do this, again, individually for each person and their loans so they can see that. That's it for the formal piece tonight. Steve, I'll tell you what, we had a couple questions come in. You want to shoot me a couple so we can answer some of them?
Okay. We got some that shot directly to me. I guess we'll get right to the meat of it. How many dentists are you got doing this right now?
We're probably in the neighborhood of 125 dentists around the country, some just out of dental school who are helping with student loans, some in the tail end of their careers, helping them be structured as much as we can so they can exit the practice in a safe way, and then there's a lot of them in the middle.
Okay. Here's one. I know we're running out of time, but how do I determine how much my future major purchases are going to be and how to plan for them? How do I determine my future major purchases?
Well, one of the keys is we want you to do all you can do because we know that purchases 5 years, 10, 15, or 20 years out are going to be a lot more expensive than they are today. Plus, there's going to be items and equipment that you couldn't even fathom would exist today. So you can't do any more than you can do. Our job is to help you find the money to maximize what you can use and what you would have available for those future purchases. Time for a couple more.
Okay, here we go. Let's see. Why have I not heard about this CAP plan? I always like that question.
Yeah, hey, that's great. We get that a lot. There's two reasons why you haven't heard about it. If we're taking profits away from the banks and the institutions, are their reps ever going to teach you about it? And obviously they're not. They don't want you to understand it, so the banking institutions are not going to teach you that. The other reason you haven't heard about it is most insurance companies, if I gave you the choice as a president of the insurance company to keep all the cash that you're developing in these policies, and you're the president and you can keep it inside the insurance company versus loaning against it and taking it out to do what we want, as a president, which way you think you'd rather go? Of course, every person we talk to says, if I was a president, I want to keep all the money. So they're not teaching this strategy on how to put money in and take it out and use it. So banks don't want you to know because it's taking profits away. Insurance companies don't want you to know because they want to keep the money.
Okay. Here's one. I have heard that taking the shortest term length on my loans is the best. Is that the best?
That's a great question also. We believe that cash flow is the most important thing you can have in owning a business or owning a dental practice, because that's what we live on. We don't live on net worth, we live on cash flow. The shorter loan you take does two things. It's a much more heavy and much more expensive payment every month because you're paying it off quicker, which is good, but it's also a lot more costly on a monthly basis. The other thing a short loan payback does is it increases your income taxes, because as a practice, you get to deduct the interest you're paying for your loans. You don't deduct the principal. So what happens a lot of times, we'll get calls in November, December from our dentist clients, and they'll go, I just met with my accountant, and I owe $25,000, I owe $50,000 in income taxes. I don't have any money left in my account. Well, what's going on? So we explain that all the debt that they accelerated to pay off early as a principal payment is non-deductible to them, and as a result, they've got to pay tax on all that. So it's a learning process with it. Well, we've run out of time tonight. Hey, Steve, it was real nice having you on tonight, and we talked. Again, head out to the website, look at everything. You can get in contact with us for a 30-minute, free, complimentary, personalized meeting to have it. We look forward to talking to you, and we'll look forward to having you on our next live webinar, probably next month in November sometime. Thanks a lot. Talk to you all later.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.